Again, you want to keep bicycling in people's minds. You want to make it very visible. And so we have brought in some design treatments that have been very well received and very effective. We don't have a lot of them, but we think that this is going to be a real consistent part of our design toolkit. That's very visible. That's hard to miss on the street. We've got 10 intersections like that. We anticipate doing quite a bit more. Right now we're in an evaluation phase. The federal government really didn't want us doing this. This is not a standard treatment in our traffic engineering guidelines. Our traffic engineer could potentially get into a lot of trouble for doing this if we didn't do it under the auspices of the federal experiment. And the feds didn't like it. There's a lot of anti-bike facility thinking at the federal level. And so we are evaluating this with a local university, and it's been very effective. And once we get the okay, once we see that the results are, which I think they will, indicate what we're all observing, we'll proceed with more of these. And we're not doing evaluation. It's being done by the Center for Transportation Studies at a local university, so completely independent of us. Not that we're biased or anything. Again, just another white box. We've done a bunch of stuff with bike signals to cross intersections. We introduced signals into a few places. Not widespread, they're expensive, but again, they have worked well. They're going to be a standard element of our toolkit as we dramatically expand our bikeway network, and we are going to dramatically expand our bikeway network. We've done signs. We have bikeway network signs. Our entire network is signed. So when bikeways intersect, you will find a sign there that says if you go straight, you go this way, you get to this destination, right this destination, the other right, the other destination. And what we put on those signs, we wanted to encourage people, because we need a lot of new ridership, so we translated distance into time, right? Because when you're driving, when you're out on the freeway and you're driving from one place to another, and you see, well, actually I don't know what you guys think, because it's all miles. But in the States, where it's all miles, if we see that a place is 60 miles away, we know that if you're traveling 60 miles an hour, it's going to take you about 60 minutes. And so people know that. People don't know how long it takes to ride a bike from point A to point B. So we put times in. And this is basically a 10-mile-an-hour pace, which is about 16.5 kilometers per hour, which is a very comfortable, what we call a no-sweat pace. How do you translate no sweat? No sweat? I'm starting to get the metric stuff. It's the 16.5.
We're old people, we still have my
All right, let's see what we can do. And so this is very useful for people. One of the things that we found is that the bike facility standard 1.5 meter bike lane has been fine when there weren't a lot of cyclists out there, but there are now a lot of cyclists out there. And our standard designs really were created around the lone cyclist. Right? One person that's out there riding, and we don't have one person out there riding. I believe that an early version of the Dutch Bikeway Design Manual began with the sentence, "Bicycling is a social activity." Except they said it in Dutch. But when you translated it, it said bicycling is a social activity. They recognize that bicycling is a social activity. People ride together. So we are widening our bike lanes out. This is basically a 3-meter bike lane. It's a double bike lane. This is not so much so that people can ride together. This is an area where we have high volumes of bike traffic. It's up a little rise. And we want the faster cyclists and the slower cyclists to be able to sort themselves out while being within a bike lane. And so we widen this bike lane from 1.5 to 3 meters to basically create a passing lane. This is a design that I really like. This is really a next generation of facilities that we're looking at. And there's a number of things that I like about it.
Is that important?
That's important.
You reminded me of Scott Street in San Francisco.
No, I don't know that one. Yeah, this is important. This is something we did this summer. We did a few new things this summer. This is called a buffered bike lane. And it's our downtown is generally a one-way grid. So this street had 2 lanes in each direction of travel with parking on both sides of the street. And we took 1 lane away and we gave it to bikes. So this is a 3-meter bike lane. It's got an area that part of that width is given as a buffer between the remaining travel lane and bikes. and the back line of the bike lane, the one that's closest to the parked cars, is also a little bit off the parked cars, so you're a little bit out of the door zone, but you have a very ample riding area that we made, in part, we didn't do the whole thing for you, we'd like to. It's very expensive, we don't have that kind of money yet. So what I like about this design is A, it's very visible. It's really easy to read what's going on here. And it's in a prominent location, it's in our downtown, so it really makes bicycling as a whole quite visible. Separation. So the way that we believe we're going to create really comfortable conditions for bicycling is to create as much separation as possible from moving automobiles. And so in a 3-meter bike lane, you've got more separation than a 1.5-meter bike lane. And this also alters motorist behavior because there's just a lot of stuff on the road there. And they know that this is an area that they're not allowed to cross over into, unless they're parking, which they can't. They can make a right turn across this, they can park in this, you can still do all that. But when you're driving down the street, you're not allowed in it. As I said, this is a departure from us. This is a next generation facility for us. And what I like about this is that it's taking space from the automobile, because that is our future for bikeway developments in Portland on Main Streets. We are going to have to take more and more space away from the automobile if we're going to create a system that really gets us to the levels of cycling that we'd like to get to. And it's, again, it took us 15 years to get from basically nowhere to where we are today. It's going to take us some time to get to the point where we can really do this ubiquitously throughout town. So we did these on streets this summer where we knew we could do it without seriously disrupting traffic flow. And so we're just continuing to take small steps at a time. Testing the wind, take another small step. And we just keep doing that. And we're just in a position where the steps that we can take were a little further along to continue. And the other thing I like this is that, again, this is just for the people who understood what LOS meant, is that I think it's really important to communicate with the pavement. We don't like signs. It's better to make the pavement read as what you want people's behavior to be. This is another facility we put in our downtown this year. It's a sort of a poor person's cycle track. Those cars to the left of the women's cycle lane are parked. So what we did was we took the parking, we moved it 3 meters out into the roadway, and I believe that's a 1 meter buffer and a 2 meter riding area. And of course there was a lot of confusion at first, but after a few weeks it's all sorted out and people are parking where they are supposed to park, and it's working quite well. And what we had to do to create this was we had to remove travel lane on the street. So I've talked mostly about engineering. We do a lot of encouragement. As I mentioned, the Smart Trips program, that's the individualized marketing program. We have about 4,000 annual rides of all types. We had a bicycle commute challenge, which is something run by our advocacy group. And we don't do all this stuff. It's not the city of Portland that's doing this stuff. It's groups throughout the city. What has happened in Portland, I think, is because the government has done such a good job of providing bike facilities. And because we have a pretty good professional advocacy group, it's given the leeway to a lot of the 20-year-olds who would otherwise be pounding on the doors of City Hall demanding improvements to go out and do fun stuff. And so we've got this big group in town called Shift, as in Shift to Bikes. And they describe themselves as bike funists. And they just run fun bike events year round. And